Good morning and welcome to HR in 10.
At 10.
I'm Jason Perry,
And I'm Kimberly Bradshaw.
and as you all know by now, each week we get together on our YouTube channel and we post out some of the latest developments in HR right now with kind of bias towards what's going on in the COVID crisis. So
At
Kimberly,
least it's not about furlough this time, though,
no,
Jason.
we're not
That's
going to
got a
talk
bit
about furlough.
quiet.
I think we might have talked enough about furlough over the past few
Yeah,
months. So,
yeah.
what's going on in the news that's caught your eye, Kimberly, from an HR point?
Well, I think what we were talking about yesterday is the Pimlico plumbers,
Ah, yes.
the no jab, no job scenario, which is just frightening that somebody would put that kind of blanket policy in place.
Do you know, I'm smiling because it amuses me in equal proportions to horrifying me. Um, and there's a kind of, I'm going to say, admiration for the guy's PR and marketing because I don't think it's got anything to do with employment law, if I'm brutally honest.
Mm.
I think it's all about getting him the media coverage. And the very fact that we're talking about it, it was in, I think, the Sunday Times at the weekend. He's kind of done that. But it's totally unenforceable, isn't it?
Completely. You have to have reasonable grounds for all of these things, and a blanket policy like that, he's putting himself at potential risk of discrimination.
Yes.
People with philosophical beliefs, such as
Mm.
religious beliefs,
Yeah.
who can't have it for those reasons, or pregnant women, I think,
Mm.
are advised not to have the vaccination at the
Yes.
moment. So, it just seems completely
Yes.
unenforceable.
Yeah. There are, and granted, they will always be small numbers, but there are various groups of people, and you've picked up on two of them really well. And the third one that strikes me is there's a range of medical conditions, and they're kind of immune suppressant conditions,
Yeah.
where you might legitimately have a condition that means the vaccine isn't suitable for you. Um,
Mm.
and to have that blanket policy is blatantly going to be against the discrimination legislation. So,
Yeah.
anyone thinking about it, it's a really, really bad idea. Uh, just in case you haven't
I,
sought our advice.
Yeah, I'd love to see him try dismissing pregnant ladies because they haven't had the jab.
Yes, it's yeah. As we say, unenforceable. But isn't it a good, catchy line? No
Mm,
jab, no job. Um,
yeah,
it kind of got the message across. And the reality is, most of us do want our workers, our employees, to have the vaccine
mm,
because it makes for a safer workplace. And
yeah,
it really comes back down to how do we encourage people. This is that core HR thing you and I always talk about, employee engagement. It's about
hearts
winning.
and minds.
Yeah, exactly what I was about to say. Yes.
Yeah,
Um, and that's the key of it, not hard rules, isn't it?
yes, exactly. And I think the same rules apply there for vaccinations as they do for compulsory testing.
Yes.
It's the same thing. You can't have a blanket policy. You need to have some form of reasonable case. So if you're testing, would it be there's a high number of cases in your business or in your
Mm.
area, or do people work very closely in groups so that if one person's got it, the other person might also get it? There's a lot of treacherous waters for
Yes.
business owners and employers there, I think.
Yes. Testing's a little bit easier,
Mm.
albeit, as somebody pointed out to me yesterday, there are different ways of testing. I mean, the swab, I gather, isn't. I've not been lucky enough to have one so far, but I gather is not the most pleasant of experiences. But equally, there's the stab test, and literally taking some blood from your finger, or whatever. You may have people who go, no, I'm not prepared to have you stab
Mm.
my finger in that way, and it's going to be a tough one to deal with. So, yeah, but no jab, no job.
Yes, I mean,
Don't adopt that as your
exactly.
slogan.
And there are people out there who, quite frankly, beg your belief. I had something through my door yesterday. On one side of it, it was telling me how wearing masks is designed to propagate the disease. So the more you wear your mask, the more likely you are to be ill. And on the other side, it was all about how, there's mind control drugs and, tracing
Yes,
things in the vaccination. And, there are people, how you win those hearts and minds
yes,
is a struggle, I
it is.
think.
It is. While we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about the app. We
Uh-huh.
remember this was the wonderful thing that was going to save us all some months ago. But I came across,
NHS test and trace.
absolutely, world beating, don't forget. I came across an employer case a couple of days ago um, where somebody rang me up and said, we've got a member of staff who has had an alert on the app telling them they need to isolate for 10 days, but they're utterly convinced that they haven't been anywhere where they could have been in contact with anyone. So they don't believe it, they don't want to do it, and they've sought their advice of a senior manager in the organisation, and the senior manager has said, well, don't worry about it then. Come on in, it will be fine if you're sure. You're doing that poker player face again, I see.
I know, I know. I'm just react so amazingly. It is a it is a bit confusing, and I know, a good employment lawyer friend of ours yesterday clarified that if you get telephoned or emailed or something, then it is law and you have to self-isolate. It's only if you get an alert on the
Yeah,
app that it's not legally
yeah.
binding that you have to
Just
self-isolate.
just for absolute clarity there, the legal position is if Track and Trace contact you by phone, a
Mm,
human to human contact,
yeah,
and they say you have been identified as being near Kimberly Bradshaw, who tested positive last week, we require you to isolate for the
yeah,
next 10 days. That is legally enforceable and you
yeah,
must do it.
yeah,
And not only must you do it, but if your employer encourages you not to, they are liable for a fine. That is also an offence.
exactly.
But secondly, if you test positive, you are legally obliged. But the app is simply monitoring if your phone has been near other phones. And
Yeah.
that is a recommendation. It's not absolute law.
Yes, but it would say to me, if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, I've been given an alert on the track and trace," just to be on the safe side, I would advise that the individual doesn't come to work, works from home if possible, or, stays
Yes.
away until it's confirmed after they've had a test or something. It's a little bit irresponsible, I think, of an employer to say, "Oh, don't worry about it, it'll be fine."
I'm going to go a little bit further and I'm going to play devil's advocate here for a moment.
Oh,
If,
yummy.
if you come into work and say, Jason, I've had this recommendation, and I say, no, no, it's fine, you haven't been near anyone, you're a very sensible person, it's okay. And then you infect one of my other members of staff and they go on to develop the disease and unfortunately die. Have
Criminal
I
proceedings.
have I been negligent? I think I have.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it may be advisory, but you go back to the core point of the health and safety legislation we have. We as employers, and even every member of staff, has a legal responsibility to keep the workplace, to keep their colleagues safe.
Yeah.
And if I have knowledge that you may be carrying an infectious disease that is potentially deadly, and I say, no, no, don't worry about it, and it goes on to go wrong, I think I'm liable, would be my
Yeah,
take on
I
that.
completely agree.
Yeah,
I know some people are taking it with a bit of a pinch of salt because it's not entirely accurate. It depends on you having checked out of wherever you've been. So
yeah,
it doesn't actually
yes,
know how recently you were where you said
yes,
you were. So it could be that it was something, you know, months ago
yeah,
and
totally.
you're still there.
Mm,
So it is a tricky, but I think absolutely you're right, on the right side.
yeah.
And
Kimberly, we could talk about this for ages, but guess what?
no, I was just getting into my stream.
Perhaps we should turn it into HR in 20 or something, but this is
Okay.
HR in 10. We have been talking for 10 minutes. It's been a delight. If you like watching these and find them useful, click the follow button. Follow us on YouTube and you'll get alerts. And it's been a pleasure. We shall look forward to seeing you next week.
Indeed, we will. Goodbye.
Thanks for watching. Bye bye.